You've reached HFY Vanguard, the frontier where humanity rewrites the laws of the galaxy. Stay sharp. Our story starts now.
The green liquid in Leon Penasser's glass fizzed ominously, bubbling like a swamp in mid-eruption. He eyed it with wary indifference, then downed another mouthful anyway, the acidic brew scorching its way down his throat. It was barely drinkable, and even less trustworthy, but it was cheap and strong, two things that perfectly matched his current standard of living. He set the glass back on the scratched bar top of the green tentacle, his usual haunt on Vex Station 13, and exhaled. Just another Tuesday, he muttered. Across the smoke-filled room, a trio of scaly reptiloids were hissing insults at a pair of two-headed gastropods, each argument somehow louder and slimier than the last. Leon leaned back in his chair, adjusting the angle just enough to watch the fight unfold without risking involvement. His philosophy was simple, close enough to be entertained, far enough to avoid stray appendages. The first punch landed with a satisfying wet smack, sending one of the gastropod's heads flailing, while the other continued drinking as if nothing had happened. Leon chuckled softly. Amateurs, he said to no one in particular. Behind the bar, Zix, half bartender, half war relic, watched the scuffle through flickering optics. The cybernetic avian clinked two metal fingers together, polishing a glass that would never be clean. Heard the news, Penasser Zix's voice was mechanical, yet carried the dry tone of someone far too old to care. "It's Pen H. Sir," Leon corrected without looking. "And no, I make it a point to avoid anything labeled news. Usually ends with someone shooting at me." Zix's optical sensors blinked in an imitation of an eye roll. "They're executing the last Reala, happening today, Omega 7. Leon finally turned his head. Reala thought they were extinct. Mostly. This one's pure-blooded. Something about dangerous tech buried in her DNA. Galactic Security Corporation says she's too much of a risk to keep breathing." Leon shrugged, unconcerned, sad, but not my problem. Zix leaned closer, the dim neon lights reflecting off his beak. "Rumor is GSC wants every trace of the Reala gone. They're scared of what they don't understand. Classic story." Leon stood tossing a few credit chips onto the counter. Classic story usually ends with someone like me dying for no good reason. I prefer boring. Boring keeps me alive. As if to spite him, his wrist communicator buzzed. He groaned and flicked the holographic screen into view. One job offer. Destination Omega 7. Cargo delivery. Double the standard rate. He raised an eyebrow. Suspiciously generous. I don't like that. "Then don't go," Zix said, already turning away. Leon smirked. "I said I didn't like it. Didn't say I wouldn't take it. 5 hours there, 5 hours back. Quick trip, enough credits to keep his ship, the tragically named Chicken Soup, out of impound for another month." He tapped accept on the job and drained the last of his toxic beverage. "Enjoy the riot," he told Zix, ducking as a flying tentacle origin unknown whizzed past his head. "And keep my stool warm." "It always is," Zix replied without looking. The Chicken Soup groaned like a wounded beast as Leon guided it through Omega 7's thick upper atmosphere. The ancient freighter was more rust than ship, a Frankensteinian patchwork of repairs and jury-rigged systems. Its thrusters wheezed. Its nav system stuttered. Its stabilizers had all the grace of a drunk rhino on rollerblades. "Come on, baby," Leon murmured, patting the control panel. "Just hold it together for one more job. We'll get you a new coupling, maybe even a real bed." The ship lurched, threatening to disagree, then grudgingly stabilized. They landed in Dock C, Slot B. Barely. Leon exhaled slowly, wiping the sweat from his brow. Every landing lately felt like a dice roll, with death himself. He disembarked and sealed the hatch, stepping into the bustling chaos of Omega 7's trade district. Omega 7 had all the charm of a concrete coffin, functional, crowded, and heavily policed. GSC enforcers in sleek black uniforms prowled like sharks through the crowds, their faces locked in permanent scowls. People from every corner of the galaxy moved between stalls and transport hubs, but the mood was uneasy. He delivered his cargo in under 5 minutes. The client didn't even bother inspecting the goods, just waved a scanner and transferred the funds. Red flag, Leon thought, but a paid job was a paid job. He pocketed the credits and decided he could afford a real lunch. As he wandered toward the food sector, a strange flow of foot traffic caught his attention. People were clustering around a central square, murmuring, whispering. Something big was happening. His instincts screamed, "Turn around, leave now, go eat garbage and live." But curiosity had always been his worst trait, well that, and women with secrets. He followed the current of bodies until the crowd opened into a broad plaza dominated by a raised platform. There, flanked by GSC soldiers and a robed judge, stood a woman who did not look like she belonged in chains. Her skin was a rich violet shimmering with an inner bioluminescence. Silver-white hair spilled over her shoulders like liquid moonlight. Her outfit, half ceremonial, half battle-worn, clung to her like armor made for seduction. But it was her eyes that held Leon, brilliant emerald green with vertical pupils gleaming like molten jade. A Riala, the last of her kind. The judge spoke. Ari Cassid, last known survivor of the Riala species. You stand convicted of violating Galactic Code 47B, possession of forbidden genetic modifications. Leon swallowed hard. He had no reason to stay, no reason to care. But then she looked at him. Her gaze met his across the plaza, like a lightning bolt through time and space. And in that heartbeat of stillness, she mouthed one word: help. Leon had seen many strange things in his time, drifting across the stars. Alien brawls in low-gravity bars, wormholes that whispered secrets in dead languages, even a sentient fungus that offered marriage in exchange for fuel. But nothing quite compared to the violet-skinned woman standing defiantly before a death sentence. Ari Cassid, the last Riala. She stood tall on the platform, chin lifted in the face of an entire security force. Her hands were bound behind her back with glowing restraints that pulsed faintly with every heartbeat. But there was no fear in her posture, only contempt. She scanned the crowd like a queen appraising insects, her gaze cold and ancient. Leon should have left, right there. Turned around, disappeared into the food sector, and pretended he had never seen her. He'd survived this long by following one rule: don't get involved. But his feet didn't move. The judge continued his speech, reading from a flickering holographic scroll with bureaucratic detachment. Possession of bioreactive technology, resistance during detainment, genetic threat to galactic stability. Leon barely registered the words. His focus was locked on Ari. The light caught the fine constellations of glowing marks etched across her skin like maps or circuitry. Her body language didn't scream desperation, but her eyes, those eyes screamed louder than any siren. A murmur rippled through the crowd as the judge reached the end. By authority of the Galactic Security Corporation, sentence is hereby declared immediate termination. Genetic material to be preserved for scientific study. Leon flinched. That wasn't just an execution, that was erasure. They weren't killing her, they were dissecting history. The executioner, clad in armor more machine than man, stepped forward with a silvery injector the size of a forearm. The weapon hissed ominously as it powered up. Leon's heart thudded. His breath came faster. No, this wasn't his fight. He didn't know her. This was above his pay grade, way above his weight class. And then she looked at him again. He wasn't imagining it this time. Her lips moved with deliberate slowness. Help me. The words hit him like a punch to the chest. Not psychic, not magical, just human, desperate, real. Before his brain could override his mouth, he found himself moving forward. A GSC officer appeared in front of him, like a phantom visor down, hand on his weapon. Citizen, state your name and business. Leon froze. Every eye turned to him. The judge paused mid-scroll. The crowd parted like a sea of suspicion. Leon's mind raced through options: deny, lie, vanish. Instead, what came out of his mouth was, "She's my mate." The silence that followed was absolute. Even the wind stopped. The executioner lowered his arm. The judge dropped the holographic tablet. The crowd let out a collective gasp. And Ari, she blinked, her expression unreadable for a moment, before the corners of her mouth curled upward, calculating. "What did you say?" the GSC officer demanded, hand, now fully gripping his sidearm. Leon cleared his throat, trying to summon a confidence he absolutely did not feel. "I said, she's my mate, my bonded partner. We're pair-bound." Ari's eyes widened just a fraction, but she played along beautifully. She tilted her head, studying him with theatrical curiosity. "He speaks the truth," she purred. We are joined by bond, flesh, soul. The judge leapt off the stage, marching straight toward Leon. By galactic law, a declared mate bond between species, if legitimate, prohibits execution of either party. You understand the implications of this claim? Leon nodded. Of course I do. He absolutely did not. Such a claim must be verified, the judge warned. If you are lying, consequences will fall on both of you. I'm not lying, Leon said firmly. We're very bonded, deeply, emotionally, spiritually. He hesitated. Also, intimately. There were a few scandalized gasps. The GSC soldiers looked uneasy. The judge turned toward the executioner and gave a curt nod. Stand down. The restraints on Ari's wrists disengaged with a chime. She stepped down from the platform, each movement smooth as liquid silver. She didn't run, didn't hesitate. She simply walked-no-glided toward Leon. Up close, the bioluminescent patterns on her skin shifted like waves reacting to her pulse, or perhaps his. She stopped inches from him, her eyes locked onto his. Her scent hit him, something ancient floral wild. My savior, she said, voice a honeyed whisper laced with amusement. How fortunate you arrived when you did, mate. Leon swallowed. The judge cleared his throat. By claiming bond, you assume responsibility for this individual. Any future violations of galactic law will be punished jointly. Furthermore, you are required to complete the formal bonding ritual within 3 standard cycles. Leon blinked. The what now? Ari slipped her arm through his, pressing her body close with casual familiarity. He nearly forgot how to breathe. Don't worry, beloved, she whispered, her lips brushing his ear. I'll explain everything, in private. As they left the square together, Leon couldn't help but glance back. The executioner stood frozen. The judge scowled but said nothing. The crowd whispered and stared. The GSC couldn't act not without breaking their own laws. The last Reala had escaped the gallows, and Leon had just signed up for a galactic mess he couldn't begin to comprehend. Leon stumbled through the polished corridors of Omega-7's administrative complex like a man drunk on his own bad decisions. The violet-skinned alien woman clinging to his arm moved with graceful precision, every step perfectly balanced, every gaze deliberately provocative. The crowd parted before them, like a tide parting for royalty or a bomb about to go off. Ari's grip on his forearm was deceptively gentle. He tried to pull back once, just once. She didn't let him. You're surprisingly strong for someone half my size, he muttered. She flashed him a smile that made something in his chest thump. You claimed me, remember, until we complete the ritual. I belong to you, and you darling belong to me. Great. Mutual kidnapping, Leon grunted. So, about this ritual everyone's so eager to mention, what does that actually mean? Ari leaned closer, whispering like a lover sharing scandal. Oh, just a few traditional steps. A formal declaration, a minor exchange of biosignatures, some ceremony under moonlight, and consummation. Leon almost tripped. She purred. Don't worry, my sweet, we don't have to do it right away. We have 3 cycles. Unless you prefer we get started sooner. I'd prefer a full explanation, he said, recovering his balance. And maybe a way to not become a target of the entire GSC death squad. Too late for that, she replied sweetly. A uniformed administrator intercepted them near a pair of ornate double doors. The man, probably high-ranking by the look of his medals, and the fear in his eyes bowed so deeply Leon thought he might dislocate something. Honored pair bond, he stammered carefully, avoiding direct eye contact with Ari. The magistrate has requested your presence in the grand chamber. Leon opened his mouth to protest. Surely this could all be handled in a small, quiet room somewhere, maybe with a bottle of calming whiskey, but Ari dug her nails lightly into his arm. We would be delighted, she said, with a voice that could melt diamonds. Terrible idea, Leon muttered, as they were escorted into a room the size of a small arena. Spectacularly bad. The grand chamber was every bit as intimidating as it sounded, circular, massive, lined with delegates and officials from all sectors of the galaxy. All conversation halted the moment they stepped in. Every eye turned to them. Leon's stomach turned. At the center of the chamber stood Magistrate Carlin, a severe-looking woman with silver-streaked hair and the bearing of someone who'd ordered more than one execution before breakfast. Captain Penacer she greeted with cool formality, deliberately pronouncing the name, The GSC records had likely pulled from his old license. And Lady Cassid. We are surprised by this development. That makes two of us, Leon mumbled. Magistrate Carlin Ari said, bowing her head slightly. The ways of fate are mysterious. Carlin studied them both, her eyes narrowing slightly. The last Reala pair bonded with a human. Quite the twist. Tell me, do you fully understand the consequences of your claim, Captain? Of course, Leon lied. Absolutely, 100%. She turned to Ari. And you? I was claimed, Ari said smoothly, but I accepted freely. By our laws, the bond is valid. Carlin's expression barely shifted, but Leon could feel the weight of her scrutiny. Strange, she said, we have almost no background on you, Captain. No recent records. Your ship is barely functional. Your ID traces back to a license that expired 7 years ago. Traveling incognito, Ari interjected before Leon could respond. A wise precaution in such unstable times. Carlin raised an eyebrow. Incognito why? Ari smiled as if they were sharing a delightful secret. Surely you know who he is. Leon gave her a sideways glance that screamed, What the hell are you doing? I confess, Carlin said cautiously, I do not. Ari let out a soft musical laugh. Oh, how delightful. He's been traveling under a false identity all this time. Brilliant, subtle, so very human. Carlin leaned forward slightly. Perhaps we should continue this conversation in private. Which was how Leon found himself sitting in a high-security diplomatic office 10 minutes later, while Ari spun a web of increasingly creative nonsense about his importance. She wove tales of classified operations, elite training, and interstellar diplomacy. Every time Leon tried to interject, she gently squeezed his hand, or his thigh, until he shut up. And that, she concluded smoothly, is why we must depart Omega-7 with utmost discretion and a vessel appropriate to his former rank. Carlin, to Leon's utter horror, nodded. Understood. The Stellar Whisper is available. One of our finest courier-class ships. Fast, agile, and armed enough to deter pursuit. Wait, Leon blurted. What about my ship? The rust bucket, Ari asked, eyebrow raised. The chicken soup has character. It has imminent catastrophic failure, she countered. She's right, Carlin added helpfully. Our scans show 7 critical system failures. It's a miracle you landed safely. Leon sighed. At least let me grab my stuff. Already being transferred, Carlin said. You'll find your belongings in your quarters aboard the Whisper. The Whisper was everything the chicken soup wasn't. Sleek, functional, quiet. It didn't rattle when you breathed near it. Its obsidian black hull gleamed in the docking bay like a predator ready to pounce. The crew quarters had gravity for stars' sake. This is the captain's cabin, the station official announced, leading them inside. And, separate rooms are available, of course. If that won't be necessary, Ari interrupted, already slipping into the room like she owned it. We are pair bonded. The official bowed and left. The door slid shut behind them. Leon turned to her, arms crossed. Okay, what the hell was that? Ari perched gracefully on the bed, crossing one glowing leg over the other. I saved your life. You saved mine. Seems fair. You told them I'm some kind of secret agent. Would you rather I told them you're a broke cargo pilot who said the first thing that came to mind in a panic? Well, yes, no, I don't. He ran his hands through his hair. I just want to know what I've gotten myself into. Ari stood and approached, her voice soft. You claimed me as your mate. By the laws still recognized by most of the galaxy, that means we're bound until the bond is either dissolved or consummated. Leon's voice cracked. Consummated. Ari's smile was positively dangerous. Don't worry, beloved, we have options. Leon had slept in hammocks, crates, crawl spaces, and once inside a hollowed-out alien carcass to avoid a blizzard on Ferrix 3. But this was different. The captain's cabin aboard the Stellar Whisper was a haven, a real bed, ambient lighting, breathable air that didn't taste like rust. It smelled faintly of fresh linen and new circuitry. Everything was too clean, too quiet, too intentional. And then there was Ari. She'd claimed a side of the bed with the quiet dominance of someone who didn't believe in sharing power-only space. Her silver hair shimmered beneath the room's low light as she examined the small control panel near the headboard, adjusting the lighting until it mimicked a soft, violet dusk. Simulated Reala twilight, she explained casually, noticing his gaze. Helps my circadian rhythm. Right, Leon muttered. Mine's calibrated it to cheap beer and regret. Ari chuckled and patted the space beside her. Come, sit. You've earned answers. Leon hesitated, then dropped into the plush mattress like it owed him rent. Okay, first question. What are you really... Her smile faded a notch, not gone, but quieter shadowed. I am the last of my kind, yes. But before that, I was a guardian of the Reala Citadel. Guardian, he repeated, as in security, as in warrior, diplomat, enforcer of sacred law. Her voice lost its usual purr. When the GSC came for us, we didn't go quietly. Leon leaned in, sensing something important unspooling. You fought them. I killed them, she said simply. Dozens, maybe more. We were defending our temple, our young, our genetic archive. Her fingers tightened into a fist. We held them off for a week. Then they dropped orbital fire. He said nothing for a moment. Then, that's why they want you dead. They don't fear me, Ari said. They fear what I carry. Reala genes are more than just DNA. We are interwoven with biotech. It listens to us, responds to us. It adapts. Like that disintegration blast you used on the cruiser? She nodded. A last resort system built into the ship's core, but it only activates for those with the proper resonance, something I can't fake, something I only regained after you. Her words caught. She looked at him, truly looked, and something softened. What he asked, you changed me, she whispered. When you claimed me, when you touched me. Something old reawakened. Leon gave a nervous chuckle. That's flattering. Terrifying but flattering. She shifted closer, her eyes now glowing faintly. Do you want to know what I saw when our bond formed? He didn't answer aloud. He didn't have to. Ari reached out, pressing 2 fingers to his temple. The world around him dimmed. Flashes, screams, the Reala Temple of Flame, children being pulled into escape pods, soldiers kicking down ceremonial doors, Ari standing at the heart of it all, wielding a pulse blade that moved like lightning. Then pain, bright searing pain, her fall. Leon gasped and pulled away. You remembered all that? I relive it every time I close my eyes. Silence stretched between them. Then Leon asked, why me? You could have latched onto any idiot in that crowd. She tilted her head. I didn't choose you, my instincts did. Reala bonding is instinctive, biological, but it only reacts to certain neural patterns. Compatibility, potential. Potential, he echoed. Yes. She reached up, tracing a line along his jaw. You hide it well, this storm inside you. But your blood hums with purpose, violence, greatness. Leon flinched slightly. I don't want any of that. That's not me. But it is, she said softly. It always was. The bed's smart fabric adjusted under their combined weight as she leaned in her forehead, brushing his. You saved me, not just with words, but with risk. Sacrifice. That matters. You make it sound noble, he murmured. I was panicking. Perhaps. But the galaxy doesn't care about your panic. It cares about what you did. A long pause. The kind of silence that wrapped around them like a cocoon. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. Would you like to begin the ritual? Leon blinked. I thought we had 3 cycles. You do, she replied. But it's tradition to share. A night of vulnerability. Even if the bond is never consummated. And what does this night of vulnerability entail? Ari gave him a look. Whatever you're brave enough to handle. She reached for the edge of her suit, and he watched in awe as the material shimmered and loosened, responding to her desire, as if reading her pulse. Her skin beneath glowed faintly constellations, shifting with her breath. Leon swallowed hard. I'm guessing this is the part that makes everything complicated. The best parts always do. Later, as they lay beneath the weightless silk sheets, Ari curled against him like liquid heat. Leon stared at the ceiling, trying to process everything. You still smell like flowers and space magic, he muttered. She laughed into his shoulder. It's genetic. He turned to her. So, what happens if we don't complete the bond? We'd need to seek a formal dissolution before a galactic adjudicator, she said, voice already sleepy. 3-month waiting period. Shared quarters mandatory. Public affection recommended. 3 months. Blink of an eye in cosmic terms. Leon groaned. This was supposed to be a boring cargo run. Ari murmured, You've outgrown boring, Leon Pen Acer. And in the silence that followed, with her breath warm against his collarbone and the stars whispering beyond the hull, he began to believe she was right. The next morning began with silence. Not the peaceful kind, The kind that hums beneath your skin like a pressure wave just before something explodes. Leon stirred from sleep, blinking at the faint artificial sunrise programmed into the cabin walls. Ari was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the floor, with her eyes closed and her palms resting on her knees. Her body glowed faintly, the constellation patterns along her skin slowly rotating like a living map. "You meditate?" he asked groggily. She opened one eye. "I attune. It's like syncing my nervous system with the ship. That's not something humans can do." "Not yet," she said, and returned to silence. Leon sat up, rubbing his face. He hadn't meant to sleep this well or this long. The events of the past 24 hours still hadn't settled in his brain. The fake bond, the real chemistry, the upgraded warship, the unexpected connection. He was still processing when the ship's alert system chimed, soft at first, then escalating into a klaxon that made his heart jackhammer against his ribs. Ari was on her feet before the second chime. "Bridge," she snapped, grabbing a cloak and moving like a soldier in wartime. "Now." Leon didn't argue. They reached the command deck just as the ship's AI brought the threat into view, a GSC Nomad-class pursuit cruiser dropping out of hyperspace just outside Omega-7's jurisdiction. Leon's stomach flipped. That thing was huge, 20 times the size of their ship, bristling with weapons and coated in obsidian black armor. A comm burst crackled through the console. "Rogue vessel, this is GSC command. Power down and prepare to be boarded. Resistance will result in immediate termination." "Oh good," Leon muttered, fingers flying across the controls. "They brought the diplomacy ship." Ari glanced at him grim. "That model is designed to trace hyperspace signatures. Even if we jump, they'll follow. Can we outmaneuver it? Not a chance. Their sublight acceleration would tear us apart. They're not here to chase. They're here to kill." Leon's hands gripped the console. His voice dropped to a whisper. "I just wanted to haul cargo." A warning shot fired clean, precise, but close enough to jolt the Stellar Whisper off course. The cabin lights flickered. Shields dropped by 17%. "They're not bluffing," Ari snapped. Leon turned toward her. "Any bright ideas?" She hesitated. Then, with terrifying calm, she knelt beside a blank panel on the floor and pressed her palm to it. The surface shimmered, revealing a strange recessed interface covered in pulsating alien symbols, Reala script. "What is that?" Leon asked, backing up instinctively. "This ship isn't just a courier," she said. "It was retrofitted with Reala tech decades ago. I just didn't think it would respond." "To you?" "No," she said quietly. "To us." Leon's pulse spiked. "Wait, what are you doing?" She didn't answer. Her hand glowed against the surface. A low hum filled the room. The ship's systems blinked and then changed. The HUD inverted its colors. Power readings spiked. The external armor shimmered like liquid metal. "Authorization sequence complete," the AI intoned. "Biobond verified. Activating containment protocol." A spherical wave of violet energy expanded from the Stellar Whisper, silent, beautiful, deadly. It hit the GSC cruiser in less than a second, and the cruiser vanished. No explosion, no debris, just absence. Space where a threat had existed a breath ago. Leon stared at the empty screen, slack-jawed. "What the hell did you do?" "I activated a Reala failsafe," Ari said, breathless, eyes wide. "It wasn't meant to be used. It erases matter from our dimension by shifting it into null space." "You teleported them?" "No," she said. "I unmade them." Leon sat down hard. "You what?" Before Ari could answer, the comm crackled again, but this time it wasn't GSC. "Incoming transmission, Galactic Central Council, Priority Alpha." The AI didn't wait for confirmation. The main screen illuminated with a figure in ceremonial robes, stiff stern and visibly shaken. "Captain Penacer," the official intoned, "your destruction of an unauthorized GSC cruiser has been noted and recorded. The galaxy owes you a debt of gratitude. Coordinates for diplomatic debrief have been transmitted. We await your arrival with great anticipation." The screen went dark. Leon blinked. What just happened? Ari turned to him, stunned. "I think you just became a hero." 15 minutes later, Leon was still pacing the cabin like a caged animal. "This is insane. I didn't do anything. You pushed the weird alien button. You activated it," Ari corrected, sitting calmly with a cup of synth leaf tea. "The system wouldn't have responded to me alone. The ship bonded to your signal." "But I'm not special," Leon argued. "Yes, you are," she said softly. "And now the entire galaxy thinks so too. Leon ran his hands through his hair, trying to think. I need to explain that this was all a misunderstanding. And then what Ari asked, tone sharpening. They arrest me, execute me anyway. You think the GSC will accept a retraction after you vaporized one of their flagships? Leon stopped pacing. She was right. There was no going back. The comm chimed again. Another incoming vessel, this time a sleek diplomatic cruiser, flying Earth's insignia. Leon groaned. Of course. A voice barked through the comms, gruff and unmistakable. Leon Reynolds, Pen Acer, what in blazing stars have you gotten yourself into this time, boy? Leon paled. No, he whispered. Not him, not now. Ari looked confused. Who? He swallowed hard. My grandfather. And so, the stakes were raised. The galaxy now knew his name. The GSC wanted him dead, and his family was en route. Leon Penasser was no longer a nobody hauling crates. He was a living weapon, a hero by accident, a symbol of rebellion. And for the first time in his adult life, he had nowhere left to run. The airlock hissed with a dramatic flourish that Leon knew deep down had been intentional. His grandfather never entered a room, he made an entrance. The Stellar Whisper's gangway extended as if bowing before someone of galactic importance, because unfortunately it was. Admiral Tobias Reynolds stood framed in the doorway, a towering relic of wars past, still built like a tank despite pushing 70. His dress uniform gleamed with so many metals, it looked like a weapons-grade solar flare. His square jaw was clenched in irritation, and his storm-gray eyes swept the cabin like he already regretted being here. Behind him bounced a red blur of kinetic chaos and unfiltered energy Lily, 16 wild-haired, bright-eyed, and dangerous in ways that would terrify military psychologists across 3 star systems. Leon barely had time to brace before she launched herself across the room. "Big brother!" She squealed and tackled him like a missile. They hit the floor with a thud. Leon groaned as his spine protested. Lily can't breathe. "You disappeared," she accused, her face inches from his. "No messages, no calls, no encrypted pirate signals. Grandpa said you were being a stubborn ass again." Language Admiral Reynolds barked behind her. Lily smirked. It's a term of endearment. Leon finally pried her off. "I was busy trying not to get vaporized." "That's new," she said cheerfully. "Usually you just sulk in garbage freighters." Then she noticed Ari and froze. Her eyes narrowed. "Ooh, you're the alien lady who got my brother in trouble." Ari inclined her head with regal calm. "Ari Cassid, last of the Reala." "You're shiny," Lily said. "Do you glow in the dark?" Leon jumped between them. "Lily boundaries?" "I like her," Ari said, amused. "She's honest." "I'm terrifying," Lily replied proudly. Admiral Reynolds finally stepped into the ship, ducking slightly to avoid hitting the bulkhead with his shoulders. His gaze pinned Ari with the weight of authority honed over decades of war. "You're the one who caused all this mess," he said flatly. Ari didn't flinch. "I prefer to say I survived it." The Admiral's stone face cracked just slightly. "Fair." He turned to Leon. "Now you. Destroyed a Nomad-class cruiser, claimed a Reala as your mate, triggered a galaxy-wide diplomatic incident. What were you thinking?" Leon sighed. "I wasn't. That's kind of the theme this week." The Admiral nodded. "At least you're honest about it." He turned toward the bridge monitors, his expression shifting into something colder, calculating. "They're going to come for you now. GSC doesn't like to be embarrassed, and you," he jabbed a finger at Ari, "are living proof that they've been operating outside the law for years." "You knew?" Leon asked. "I fought alongside the Reala during the Relian conflict," the Admiral said. "Magnificent warriors, terrible poker faces, but they were allies. What happened to them was not war. It was genocide." Ari's expression softened slightly. "You remember us." "I remember everything the old man said. I buried too many good people to forget." Leon stared. "You never told me that." "There's a lot I never told you," Tobias said, "because you spent your adult life pretending you weren't part of this family." Leon looked away, jaw clenched. "Oh, and one more thing," the Admiral added casually. "They're probably already sending a boarding party." Ari and Leon both turned. "How do you know?" Leon asked. "Because that's what I would do." Sure enough, moments later, the sensors pinged small ship approaching fast from their blind spot. Textbook stealth infiltration. Leon's old instincts kicked in like a long dormant engine roaring to life. He moved to the tactical console without thinking, hands gliding over the controls. Boarding vessel attaching to aft hull, he announced. They'll breach in less than 2 minutes. Ari blinked. You've done this before. Unfortunately, Tobias muttered. He's a Reynolds through and through. Lily Leon snapped, get to engineering. I need a power surge routed to Sector 7 on my mark. She saluted crisply. Yes, sir. Ooh, we're doing combat bonding. I love this part. Ari approached Leon as he configured the defensive grid. You're not just a pilot, are you? He didn't look at her. I used to be a problem. She touched his shoulder. Now you're a solution. The boarding clamps hit the hull with a metallic thud. Sparks flew as cutting tools began slicing through the outer plating. They'll try to disable us fast, Leon muttered. Knock out engines, then sweep the bridge. Ari reached for her concealed blade. Let me lead. No, Leon said, eyes locking with hers. You stay behind me. Her mouth opened in protest, but something in his voice stilled her. It wasn't command. It wasn't fear. It was conviction. The hull breached. 6 GSC commandos stormed aboard, weapons-drawn visors glowing red. Now Lily Leon shouted. Power surged. The deck plating in Sector 7 magnetized instantly. The commandos' metal boots locked in place. Simultaneously, Leon triggered a localized EMP pulse, disabling all their weapons. The soldiers stood frozen, stunned, helpless. Leon stepped forward. That, he said, voice calm, was your only warning. He opened a direct channel to the GSC command ship, interrupting whatever threats they were surely preparing. Commander Kev, he said, voice suddenly colder, sharper. I am Leon Reynolds Penacer. You currently have 6 of your men disabled on my ship, and your fleet within range of weapons you cannot detect or defend against. The screen flickered, and Commander Kev appeared pale and furious. You're one of them, I am, Leon replied, and I'm officially ending this pursuit. The Reala is now under Earth's protection, under my protection. You can't. I already have. The commander's mouth worked furiously, but before he could respond, Tobias Reynolds appeared beside Leon on the feed. I suggest you stand down, Kev, the Admiral growled, or I'll contact the High Council and tell them exactly what you've been doing behind their backs. Kev's courage crumbled. Withdraw, he ordered reluctantly. Get our men out of there. As the GSC retreat began, Leon finally exhaled. He turned to see 3 faces watching him. Tobias' arms crossed with quiet pride, Lily beaming like a fangirl, and Ari staring at him like he was no longer just her savior, but something far more dangerous. The ship had gone still unnaturally still. After the GSC boarding party retreated, limping, humiliated, and thoroughly disarmed, Leon leaned back in the captain's chair, heart still pounding. The adrenaline was fading, leaving a strange mixture of clarity and nausea in its wake. Ari stood beside him, her posture elegant but her eyes wary. You didn't just disable them, she said. You orchestrated that, like you'd done it 100 times. Leon didn't answer right away. He just exhaled, staring at the console as if it might offer absolution. Tobias Reynolds, leaning against a bulkhead with arms crossed, finally spoke. He has. Or close enough. Tactical genius even when he was 12. Proxima Centauri, Lily chimed from her corner, flipping a throwing knife casually. Whole Centon death squad. 1 katana, 7 seconds. I don't want to talk about Proxima, Leon said, his voice low and final. Ari nodded slowly. Fair. But the galaxy is going to ask. You're not just a cargo hauler with a broken ship. You're something more. I was trying not to be, he muttered. Before anyone could respond, the ship's comms pinged again. Incoming diplomatic transmission. Source GSC flagship. Diplomatic division. Tobias arched an eyebrow. And here comes the apology. The screen lit up to reveal Commander Kev again this time, flanked by 2 grim-looking AEDs and dressed in formal GSC blues instead of combat gear. He looked like someone who had been chewed up by policy and spit out by damage control. Captain Penacer, he began, clearly forcing civility. On behalf of the Galactic Security Corporation, I offer our sincerest apologies for the misunderstanding earlier. Leon tilted his head. Ah, misunderstanding. That what we're calling an illegal execution attempt, an unauthorized boarding action these days? Kev's jaw tightened. Director Veen has authorized me to offer compensation. 5 billion galactic credits. Diplomatic immunity for both you and the Reala, and formal recognition of your bond. Ari's eyes narrowed. That's a big olive branch. What do you want in return? Kev glanced away. That this incident not reach the Galactic Council? Leon stood slowly, eyes hardening. You want us to bury it? It would be in everyone's best interest, Kev replied. You get safety, we avoid unnecessary attention. Peace is preserved. Leon walked toward the screen, hands clasped behind his back, posture eerily calm. Commander Kev, he said softly, do you know what I found in the Stellar Whisper's black box data core after your cruiser disintegrated? Kev visibly stiffened. Leon continued. Logs, records, coordinates, missions labeled containment, targeting not just the Reala, but dozens of other species, peaceful ones, some already extinct. That information is classified, not anymore. Tobias stepped forward. We've already sent encrypted copies to 4 independent networks. If something happens to Leon or Ari or this ship, the data dumps itself directly into the Council's General Session database. Kev's face had gone pale. You're threatening the entire GSC. No, Leon said. You threaten the galaxy. We're just exposing the receipts. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Lily appeared directly in front of the screen. Kev actually flinched. You know who I am? She asked sweetly, leaning in like a child admiring a bug. Yes, Miss Reynolds, Kev said tightly. Earth's Special Envoy. She beamed. That's the boring title. Grandpa calls me Little Nightmare. Want to know why? Kev visibly swallowed. I think I understand. Lily's hand shot out blindingly fast. Stopping just a centimeter from the screen, her index finger pointed directly at his heart. 3 strikes, she said in a sing-song voice. 1 here, and 1 there. She pointed out the air mimicking jabs. And you'd crumple like wet starch paper, Lily Leon warned mildly. She grinned and twirled away. Fine, no field testing today. Kev was shaking slightly. Your offer is noted. I will relay your terms. Leon stepped closer. No need. I'll say it clearly. He took a breath. Resign. Cooperate with a full investigation, or face the Council. There is no third option. Kev opened his mouth to object, then closed it again. Good day, Commander. Leon cut the transmission without waiting for a response. Silence reigned again. Then Ari let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. That was bold, she said. That was stupidly bold, Tobias corrected, but effective. Leon collapsed into the chair. I'm still waiting for someone to arrest me for impersonating a legend. You're not impersonating, Tobias, said voice gruff. You're living it. Lily plopped down on the floor, humming. Do you think we could just mildly dismantle the GSC? Like just the violent parts? Ari gave her a look. You dismantle people like a predator playing with its food. I call it finesse, Lily replied cheerfully. Leon rubbed his eyes. We've crossed the line, haven't we? Ari touched his shoulder. There's no going back now. They know your face, your name, and what you're capable of. I don't want to be a symbol. Symbols don't get to choose, Tobias said. They become necessary when fear outgrows reason. Leon looked up. So what now? Ari smiled faintly. Now we prepare. The Council's going to call on you soon. And when they do, he asked. She stepped in close, her fingers threading with his. Then we make the galaxy listen. The Reynolds estate sat nestled on Earth's Pacific cliffs, an ancient structure infused with cutting-edge defense tech. From the outside, it looked like a temple carved from stone and memory. From the inside, it was a fortress with views. Leon stood on the terrace watching the sun dip toward the ocean. The breeze carried the scent of salt, and something faintly floral, probably Ari's presence somewhere nearby. He didn't move. He just watched the waves trying to still the storm inside. In the past 72 hours, he had gone from obscurity to symbol, from just a guy with a busted freighter to the public face of resistance against the most powerful security entity in the galaxy. And now they were coming to talk. They're here, Ari said behind him. Leon turned. She was dressed formally, not in flowing gowns or diplomat robes, but in a sleek Reala-style battle wrap laced with ceremonial gold. Her hair was braided down her back, her skin gleaming softly in the low light. Regal, unbowed, and radiant. GSC diplomatic delegation, she added. High-ranking. Kev's not leading it this time. Of course not, Leon muttered. He got humiliated. They're sending someone who can pretend none of it happened. He adjusted his collar, navy blue tailored sharp, accented with the Reynolds insignia. He still wasn't comfortable in it, but image mattered now. Together they walked into the Hall of Storms, so named for the curved ceiling and the holographic thunderclouds that rolled across it when meetings went badly. Standing in the center of the chamber was a woman with sleek white hair and eyes like polished steel. She wore the GSC crest without shame. "Director Veen sends his regards," she said, her voice smooth as polished metal. "And his regrets." "Regrets?" Leon asked. "Which part, trying to erase a species or getting caught?" She flinched, just slightly. "My name is Ambassador Saran. I have been authorized to normalize this situation." Leon raised an eyebrow. Normalize? Is that like Barry, but with better press releases? Saran hesitated, then gestured to the aide beside her, who stepped forward and handed over a secure data pad. 5 billion credits transferred to a private fund of your choosing, she said. Full diplomatic immunity for you and the Reala. A statement acknowledging your bond and invalidating previous charges. And in return, Ari asked calmly, that this incident ends here, quietly, without council escalation. Leon didn't respond. He just stared at the data pad. "I'm not sure if I should be impressed," he said eventually, "or insulted. You think 5 billion credits and a no hard feelings buys off genocide?" Saren's face hardened. The GSC acted on incomplete intelligence. There were fears. Fears, Ari interrupted, voice low and sharp. "You butchered our temples, our young. You dissected our elders and called it containment. Don't dress it up in fear." The air in the chamber thickened. Saren adjusted her tone. "We are offering a clean slate, Captain Pen Acer. You could live in peace. Comfort. You've proven your point." Leon stepped forward, eyes cold. "I didn't have a point. You gave me one." He took a breath, then slowly pulled a small data chip from his pocket. "This contains logs pulled from the cruiser you sent after us. Hidden records. Names of species flagged for disruption due to potential long-term competitiveness. Entire civilizations targeted under secret code designations." Saren's expression cracked for the first time. "You've, copied these?" she asked. "Distributed them," Leon said. "Multiple channels, timed encryption. If something happens to me or Ari, it all goes public. You don't control the narrative anymore." Saren looked stricken. "You can take your credits," Leon said, "and shove them somewhere. Deep space black holes don't shine. You want peace. Then dismantle your machine. Start with your resignation." Her mouth fell open. "My what?" "You heard me," he said flatly. "Step down. Call for a council investigation into GSC operations. Or tomorrow morning, every news feed in the galaxy gets a list of the people you erased in the name of security." Saren didn't move. She just stared. Then a slow clap echoed from behind them. Tobias Reynolds entered the room, arms folded. That he said was the most satisfying power play I've seen since I arm wrestled the arachnid queen. Grandpa Leon muttered. Saren straightened. "Admiral Reynolds, save it," he barked. "You've got 2 options. Walk out with some dignity or crawl out after trying to bluff my grandson. I'm fine with either." Saren swallowed. She turned without another word, gestured to her aides, and left. Later, as the moon rose over the cliffs, Ari and Leon stood on the edge of the terrace, quiet. "You could have taken the money," she said softly. "I don't want peace bought in blood," he replied. "You're not the man I met in that crowd." "No," he agreed. "I think I'm finally the man I ran away from being." She turned to face him. "And what now, Captain?" Leon looked out at the stars. "Now we go to the council. We put it all on record. We don't just tear GSC down, we build something better." Ari smiled. Together, he took her hand, always. The Galactic Council chamber loomed like the inner sanctum of a god, vast, circular, and humming with the presence of 1,000 worlds. It floated in high orbit above the neutral moon of Duraxis, where no one government held sway. The room itself shimmered with technology and tradition, each delegate seated behind unique sigils and symbols of their species, with some floating, others coiled, and a few suspended in exo-fluid. Leon Penasser Reynolds stood alone in the center beneath the speaking dais, a spotlight bathing him in white clarity. The hum of translation systems murmured around him as his presence rippled outward, half of them, curious, others openly hostile, a few afraid. He was no longer a cargo pilot. He was now the voice of accountability. Ari stood to the side, flanked by a pair of neutral observers. She wore the ceremonial robes of her people robes that hadn't graced this chamber since the Reala were deemed extinct. Her posture was unyielding, but her fingers tightened slightly at her sides as the weight of 1,000 judging eyes bore down on them. A mechanical voice boomed across the chamber. "You may speak, Leon Penacer of Earth." He took a breath and stepped forward. I stand before you today, not as a war hero, he began, his voice even deliberate, nor as a political leader. I am not an admiral, not a statesman, not even a representative of Earth's government. He glanced at Ari. I stand here as a man who saw someone about to die and said no. A hush fell over the chamber. Even the floating mist speakers of Inshe paused their endless spirals. What followed, he continued, was not part of any plan. I didn't set out to destroy a GSC cruiser. I didn't set out to expose an interstellar conspiracy. And I definitely didn't mean to become the symbol of a cause I didn't even know existed. He raised the small holopad, and with a flick projected dozens of classified mission reports into the air. Dozens of names, dozens of species, dozens of operations stamped classified Containment Protocol 9.4. This is what I found in the remains of your ship, Leon said. This is not peacekeeping. This is not regulation. This is quiet extermination, authorized in the shadows, hidden behind false flags and fake diplomatic missions. There were gasps, murmurs, even growls from one of the multi-jawed delegations. The Reala were only the latest victims, he said, turning to face the council's central seats. The GSC has become something it was never meant to be: judge, jury, and executioner of potential. He turned slowly, making eye contact with as many delegates as possible. If this is the peace we've built, where power justifies annihilation, then it is not peace. It's fear with better lighting. Ari stepped forward, voice calm but cutting. My people once stood in this chamber. We believed in this council, in its promises. We didn't fall in battle. We were erased piece by piece while this room said nothing. She paused. I am not here to beg for forgiveness. I'm here to demand change. Leon nodded. We are not asking you to replace one tyrant with another. We are asking you to take back the power you gave blindly, to govern again. He tapped the pad again. A new image flickered into the air. The Charter of Sentient Rights, untouched for over a century. I propose the formation of a new oversight body, Leon declared, independent from GSC command, with representation from all species, especially those marginalized and endangered. He let that hang, then said calmly, if this council is still what it claims to be, you will vote yes. The vote took 6 hours, behind closed doors and chambers shielded from bribes, threats, and whispers. And when it ended, the results were broadcast across the stars. The GSC was to be dissolved, its leaders investigated, a new order would rise. And at the center of it, Leon, Ari, and Earth. That night, as the moons of Daraxis floated high, Leon stood on the balcony of the guest wing, staring out at the galaxy he'd just helped tip into a new era. You did it, Ari said softly behind him. No, he replied. We did it. You, me, my psycho little sister, my grumpy grandfather, and a galaxy that was tired of being afraid. She joined him, slipping her hand into his. I never thought I'd see justice again, she said, let alone be part of it. Leon looked at her. We're not done. I know, she said, but for tonight, let's pretend we are. He leaned down and kissed her gently, deeply, because for the first time in years, he wasn't running. He was building. The stellar dancer pierced the clouds above Earth's western coastline, trailing silver contrails like a comet returning home. Leon stood at the viewport, arms crossed as oceans glittered beneath them, and the curve of the planet slowly rose to greet them. Home, not as a fugitive, not as a broken soldier, but as a man who changed the galaxy and still wasn't sure what to do with himself. Beside him, Ari watched in silence, her gaze soft. Is this what you saw in your dreams? She asked. No, Leon said. It's better. The real thing always is. Their arrival wasn't quiet. Of course not. They docked at Earth's orbital embassy port to a welcome Leon had neither asked for nor expected. Crowds pressed drones, human and alien faces alike, cheering from behind barricades. Banners unfurled across platforms with phrases like, Defender of the Voiceless, Reala, Rise Again, Reynolds, Resistance. I hate that one, Leon muttered as he read it. Sounds like I'm about to drop an album. Ari chuckled, slipping her hand into his. If you do, I'll be your chorus. They stepped off the platform together. The air was crisp, familiar, the scent of sea spray mixed with the sharpness of metal and celebration. And waiting at the front of the landing party, his arms crossed, sunglasses too cool for the occasion, was Tobias Reynolds. Well, well, the old warhorse said, look who came back without blowing up the planet. Leon walked up, dropped his bag, and pulled him into a tight hug. Tobias hesitated for half a second before returning it, muttering, "Still got a glass jaw, I see." "You crying, old man? Please. These eyes don't leak, they reload." A moment later, another voice called out, lighter, sharper, "You're late." Sari tackled Leon from the side, wrapping her arms around him in a blur of red curls and tactical boots. 3 days of media silence. "Big bro, you trying to kill me?" Leon laughed. "You're the one who threatened to blow up the Galactic Council's mainframe if I didn't text back." "I would have," she declared, turning to Ari with a wink. "And you. Still hot. Still terrifying. Respect." Ari smiled, still armed. "Love it." They laughed together, the world around them fading for a moment into something warm, human. Later on the cliffs above the Reynolds estate, the fire crackled as waves pounded the rocks below. Ari sat wrapped in a human wool blanket, legs tucked beneath her, while Leon grilled something that looked suspiciously alien and smelled deeply illegal. "Explain again how this counts as food," she asked, raising a brow. "You're dating a Terran," Leon said. "That comes with culinary risks. I thought it came with back massages and impulsive heroics." "That too." She leaned her head on his shoulder, and for a long time they simply sat. No war, no council, no pressure, just starlight and the promise of peace. Then Ari whispered, "We're going back out there, aren't we?" Leon didn't reply immediately. He flipped the skewer once, then said, "Yeah, we are." "To do what?" "To make sure the galaxy keeps spinning the right way. There's going to be backlash, power vacuums, worlds that don't know who to trust." He looked at her. "But they trust us, and I don't want to waste that." Ari nodded, "Then we go together." "You sure?" She smirked. "You think I came all this way just to be your emotional support alien?" He grinned, little bit. They kissed again, deeper this time, slower, not rushed or desperate, just right. The next morning, a message pinged across the galactic net. It bore no government seal, no encryption keys, no threats. Just a simple banner, "We're listening now." Beneath it, an open channel, a promise. For every species that had been silenced, for every voice erased. It wasn't a broadcast from Earth. It was a signal from them, Leon and Ari, two beings who had stared down the void and come back to build something better. Years passed. The name Leon Reynolds became more than just a name. It became a symbol etched into the political DNA of a restructured galaxy. Monuments weren't built in his honor at his very vocal request, but stories were. Ballads, lessons in academies, whispers in dark bars about the human who stood between death and a girl nobody remembered, and didn't flinch. Ari's name too carried weight, not as a relic of a dead race, but as the first of the reborn Reala, their legacy rekindled in her voice, in her actions, in the new culture she helped shape from its ashes. The galaxy didn't become perfect, of course not, but it became aware. No more silent erasures, no more sanctioned genocide. Instead, the unified accord of sentient rights, a coalition Leon and Ari helped write, took root. It was slow, infuriating work. Politics always was. But the fire was lit, and for the first time in centuries it stayed lit. On the quiet moon of Lyrae, in a valley untouched by war or ambition, stood a small homestead with blue grass, 2 sons, and a crooked metal fence that never quite kept the animals out. Leon stood barefoot in the dirt sleeves rolled, holding a datapad in one hand and a baby girl in the other. She had his eyes sharp, curious, and Ari's hair shimmering violet with a streak of white that never faded. Her name was Kailari. "Okay," Leon muttered, bouncing her slightly. "Rule number 1 of diplomacy, don't throw up on the ambassador." Kailari gurgled and blew a raspberry. "Close enough." Inside the house, Ari was making tea, the earth kind, bitter, and calming. Her hair was longer now, her robes replaced with tunics and leggings, and she still had a habit of slipping a knife into her belt, even on laundry day. She watched Leon through the window and smiled, a soft warmth in her chest. "This is what we fought for," she whispered. "Not just the laws, not just the council reforms, but mornings like this." Later, as the suns dipped behind the valley ridge and cast the sky into molten gold, Leon and Ari sat on the porch, Kailari asleep between them, tiny fingers wrapped around a strand of her father's shirt. They didn't speak for a long while. Then Leon said, "Do you ever think about the day we met?" Ari smirked. "You mean the day I was literally about to be vaporized?" "Yeah, that one." "All the time," she replied. He chuckled. "You still owe me a thank you." I gave you a daughter, a house, and myself. What else do you want? Pancakes tomorrow. Pancake is tomorrow. I'll consider it. He looked up at the stars. We're not done, he said quietly. No, she agreed. But we don't have to be loud all the time to make change. He nodded. Sometimes it starts with a whisper. Ari leaned over, resting her head on his shoulder. And sometimes she said it starts with a human shouting, "Stop!" in front of a firing squad. They laughed softly. The stars blinked above. Somewhere light years away, a young alien girl, scales still shifting color, with emotion opened her planetary history text and found a chapter titled, "The Man Who Jumped In." Beneath it a picture, Leon, mid-jump, arms out, eyes locked on destiny. Beside him Ari, proud, alive. Underneath it all, one quote. Sometimes all it takes is one voice refusing to be silent. One hand reaching into the fire. Leon Reynolds, defender of the forgotten. The girl looked up eyes wide and whispered, "I want to be like them." The seeds had been planted, and across the stars they were blooming.